There you are. So, in a little village in East Africa, there lived a chief with his wife and his son and his daughter. They lived in great wealth and comfort. Their hut was enormous. It was the size of huts that you can see in some places in Australia quite often, actually. And you wonder what four people can do in such an enormous hut. But they live in such big huts. But his children were not especially happy. They walked down the streets with yawning and with tired eyes, and they would never smile, and they would never play with other children. And they were thin and pale, and their eyes were dark and haunted, so that the other children and old people of the village, they were almost afraid of those children. But there lived also in that village a poor man. He also had a son and a daughter, and they were happy. They were skipping down the streets, and they were laughing, and they were smiling, and they were playing with the other children. And their limbs were strong and plump, and their skin was smooth and soft. And their eyes was radiating, so that everybody who saw them couldn't help themselves but fall in love with them. And one day, when the chief happened to look up, he saw those beautiful, happy children. And that made him pay a visit to their father. And he said, "How is it that your children are so happy and wealthy and well, and my children are so pale and sad and unhappy? I give them everything they wish for." The poor man said, "Great chief, I feed my children with the meat of the tongue, and that makes them happy and healthy." "Ah, that's a good idea. Thank you. That is such an easy way of solving the problem," said the chief. And he quickly ran home. And he had plenty of servants in that big hut he lived in. And he ordered those servants to go out into the world and bring home tongues from all animals under the sun. And then he instructed his cooks to prepare tongue stew, tongue roasts, tongue soup, boiled tongue, fried tongue, grilled tongue, and that he fed his children with day and night. But his children didn't get any happier. Instead, they grew more pale and even sadder. So the chief, he went back to the poor man one day, and he said, "You have given me bad advice. And the one who gives the chief bad advice, he will be punished. And your punishment is that I am going to have your healthy, happy children, and you are going to look after my sad and pale children." And in that village, the word of the chief was law. So there was nothing the poor man could do, even though he loved his children above anything else. He had to take his pale, unhappy children, and his happy children went to the chief. And so they lived for a while. But it didn't take long before the chief's new children started to be unhappy. They were not laughing anymore, and they became pale and sad. And even though the chief gave them toys and presents and games to play with, he even brought them birds in golden cages that would sing to them. But these children didn't listen to the birds singing, and they didn't sing themselves. The poor man, he was out working every day in the fields. And when evening came, he went back to his house. He sat down at table with his new children, and he spoke to them as they shared their evening meal. And he told them stories of the wonders of the world. And he told them how the sun was rising, about the stars in the sky, about the moon, about how plants were growing, about the animals on the earth. And he drew pictures for the children of the fields that he was working in. And then when it was bedtime, he sang songs to them until they fell asleep with a smile on their faces. It didn't take long before those children were happy and they started to laugh. It didn't take long before they were out in the streets, skipping down the roads, smiling, playing with other children. And they played all day long. And when evening came, they were eager to come back and hear their father tell stories to them again. But meanwhile, the chief in his big hut, he was getting fed up with those children that he couldn't please. And it just got more and more sad. So one day he said to his servants, "Pack their bags and bring them back to their father and bring my children back to me." So that's what the servants did. And when they came to the poor man's house, the children came to meet them. "Hello, nice to see you. We haven't met you for a long time. Welcome here. Welcome to our new happy home. We have come to bring you back to your father. He wants you to be his children again." "No, we're not going back to our father. We want to stay here with our new father, and we want to continue to listen to his stories and hear his songs." No, we are not going back. We are staying here." So the servants had to go back and tell the chief what his children had said. And the chief became furious, and he stomped off to the poor man's hut. And he swung open the door without knocking. He entered in and he was about to give the poor man a piece of his mind. But then he stopped still. "Children, what has happened to you? You look happy. You put on weight. You're strong and you're plump. Poor man, what have you done to my children?" But before he could answer, the children piped in and they told their father all the stories that the poor man had told them. They sang all the songs that he had sung to them. And the chief listened. Now I see. Now I know what you mean. The tongue of the meat. Poor man, you are a wise man. You have given my children a precious gift. You have given them companionship. And you have told them stories. And you have sung to them. Very good. You have taught me well. And when the children saw that their father had understood, they decided to go home with him. And so it was that from that day, the chief gave his children the most precious gift a parent can give a child. He gave them friendship, companionship, interest, and he sang them songs, and he told them stories.